So I sit down on my couch with a full box of Cheez-Its in hand, fully intending to eat the entire thing, while I rewatch The Dragon Prince for the 10,000th time, and as the show begins playing, I think to myself, wow, The Dragon Prince would make a great video game. And then I thought, wait a minute, didn't they announce a video game like 2 years ago? Hello, beautiful dragon people, it's me, your pal Vero, here to bring you some more of that sweet, sweet Dragon Prince content, today in the form of a very casual news update video on the upcoming Dragon Prince video game. You know, it's kind of funny because I keep forgetting that this game is even a thing. I'm so caught up with the Through the Moon graphic novel and the upcoming tabletop RPG being released that I keep forgetting that Wonderstorm is even developing a video game and have been for probably almost 2 years now. In this video, I'm going to be going over all that we know for sure about the upcoming video game, including the gameplay, story, its possible release date, and in the end, I will speculate on it, ending with my final thoughts. I'm going to be going over the information provided by interviews with 𝐅𝐴 and Justin Richmond from Inverse and Vice, and a very nice Reddit thread by Master Kingdom Key. All links to these articles will be in the description below. Definitely go check them out if you are interested in reading them for yourself. So, without further delay, let's get right into it. So here's everything we know about the gameplay so far. And this information comes directly from 𝐅𝐴 and Justin Richmond themselves. So we can trust what they're saying, unless, of course, they're talking about Hero and that he's not inside the bird, because he totally is. Stop lying to me, 𝐴! I know what you're up to, 𝐴! Hero is in the bird! You will never convince me otherwise! I apologize for that, I got a little overexcited. So it's going to be combat-based multiplayer, but not an MMO, and that means a massive multiplayer online game like World of Warcraft or Fortnite. So it's going to be online, but not necessarily an MMO. You get to choose which character from the Dragon Prince you wish to play as. There will be a range of characters to choose from, some of whom we haven't met in the show yet, but we'll meet them in the second season. Oh, I guess this information is kind of out of date. I'm definitely going to make sure to cut that part out. Each playable character has an array of movesets that reflect their abilities in the Dragon Prince. Viren, for example, will possess certain moves that are dark magic based, while Rayla will have certain agility-based moves, and Amaya will have blocking-based moves. As a result, character selection requires a bit of strategy, because character abilities are complementary and you want to build a good team. So beyond that, characters are going to have an ultimate ability, an extremely powerful move that can only be used when it has fully been charged up. The game will be based on the show, taking place in the lands the show has explored before, but it won't be rehashing the Dragon Prince's narrative. Don't expect the kind of game that retells the main plot. It should be considered as a world expansion, according to Richmond. That's Justin Richmond, co-creator of the Dragon Prince. So it's definitely not going to be following the main story of the show. So it's not going to be like the Avatar: The Last Airbender video games that were released years ago, which basically just retell the story directly from the 3 seasons and allow you to play as the characters. 𝐅𝐴, who worked on the Avatar: The Last Airbender show, is well aware that a lot of the fans were quite disappointed in the story of those video games, and that's something that I'm definitely going to have to agree with him on. Like, if it comes down to a video game that is either going to be a straight adaptation of the show, or a video game that will tell a new story set in the Dragon Prince world, I will definitely take a new story. I feel like a lot of you are also like me, starving for some fresh Dragon Prince story, so I think the majority of us would agree on that. Although, as somebody who's played many of the Avatar: The Last Airbender video games, I gotta tell you guys that the story is not the most disappointing part of those games. The problem with most of those games was the gameplay was just not very good. I played through several of them because I'm a huge Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, and I definitely want to make sure that I was putting my time in playing those games, you know, I gotta pay my dues. The Legend of Korra had a video game that wasn't very good either, but it actually had an original story, which I thought was really cool. Not only did it have an original story, but they also animated original scenes in the style of the show for that video game, which was pretty cool. But the story itself was actually actually pretty weak, and the game itself was pretty short and underwhelming. So I appreciate the efforts of giving it an original story and animating original cutscenes for it. That was pretty cool, but the game itself was, well, I mean, look at it. Anyways, what I'm getting at is that the story is an important part to the video game, but it's definitely not the most important part. The most important part of a game is the game design. Most of the people that I know who are in game design would argue that the most important part of a game is the gameplay itself, and there's a wonderful case to be made for that. But then you have games like Life is Strange and The Walking Dead with very little gameplay besides some walking around and dialogue options that are almost entirely beloved because of their stories and the characters in them. So I suppose it just depends on how the game is done. So we will just have to wait to see more information on what the game is going to be focusing on. But I'm optimistic. I got a good feeling about this one. So this is definitely going to be one of the most speculative topics in this video, but I still wanted to talk about it. So the earliest mention that I could find of the video game came shortly before the release of the second season in early 2019. So an average AAA video game developed for PC and consoles are usually developed over 3 to 5 years. However, mobile games and apps usually only take between 9 to 12 months. But of course, this can vary on many factors, such as the size of the team, the workload, and of course just the type of game that they're developing. How much bug testing is going to be required, how many assets are going to have to be developed for it. So based on some of the averages for these games and the size of the development team that I'm just guessing they are going to be having for a project like this, I would say that we will probably be seeing this game released sometime between 2022 to 2024. But that's just a guess based on how long it usually takes to develop a game like this and the amount of assets that they're probably going to have to create for it. I'm also assuming that they're working with a smaller team of developers, which could add some extra time to it. So here I'm just going to make some broad speculation on what the game could look like based on the information that we have. It definitely seems more than likely that they are going to be going for a mobile game audience. That definitely seems to be their priority, and the kind of cryptic information they've been giving about whether or not it would be developed for consoles definitely makes it seem as though they are definitely going to be aiming towards a mobile game platform. They've also said that they're not planning on it only being confined to mobile devices, but not planning on it and confirming it are not the same thing. However, a PC port of the game is not out of the question. There's a lot of development tools out there that allow you to very easily port games developed for mobile devices to PC. They've also mentioned the possibility of cross-platform play, which would be very interesting. If you don't know what that means, that basically means that people could play with each other on different devices. Like, for example, if I was playing on the iPhone and you were playing on your computer, theoretically we could match up in-game and still play with each other, which would be really cool. So, in summary, it's going to be a combat-based and multiplayer game, but not an MMO. You can choose which character from the Dragon Prince you wish to play as, and there will be a range of characters to choose from, each with their own movesets. It's not going to be heavily narrative based, but the story of the game is going to be considered canon. The game has been in development for about 2 years now, and it usually takes 2 to 5 years to create a AAA game, which means that we will more than likely be seeing this game released within a year or two, depending on the project and the amount of designers. It will more than likely be launched as a mobile game with possible cross-platform play. Well, that's everything we know about the upcoming Dragon Prince video game. It appears that it's going to be a mobile game, but not necessarily confined to it. It's going to be an action game where we play multiplayer, and maybe it'll be similar to the same vein as Apex Legends or Overwatch, and it's more than likely going to be coming out around 2022 to 2024. What do you guys think about the information we discussed in this video? Are you guys excited about this video game? As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe. And as always, I am off to rewatch The Dragon Prince. See ya.